mask from Halloween 3. He's got the thing that melts your brain. Yeah, it's great. It's perfect.
Ugh. Oh, but I'm not going to do the whole video in that helmet mask, because you can't hear me. Okay, so, now that we're officially in Spooktober, it's time to talk about an actually really creepy manga, Zanuff the Butcher. Yes, you may have noticed this was on my Patreon vote poll for the month, and it didn't win, so I want to talk about it anyway. And it's a one-shot, so like, if it had won, that review would have been pretty short anyway, so this is great for that. So, Zanuff the Butcher is about a butcher who's a psycho killer, kind of. Zanuff the Butcher actually already went to prison. Like, he cut up someone when he was 15 because he had a crush on her, or maybe it was his mom, I don't remember actually, but the point is he like, oh my god, cutting up meat feels so good, human meat, and he's got like the terrifying, creepy, psycho murderer smile going on, and was convicted and sent to jail. And after 20 years in jail, because Japan doesn't have a death penalty, he just gets out and is like, well, guess I gotta have a job now, and goes into butcher shopping. Why not go into something a little more unrelated to your particular issue? Okay? Librarian? I don't know, but why would you go into a field that gives you access to meat chopping items? Like, don't do that, man. So Zanuff is a big guy, he's a friendly fella, and he's not like happy that he's got these psycho killer instincts going on, but he also is aware that he can't really resist them necessarily, so he doesn't go on dates, and he tries to not think He tries to not think about the cute customers who come in that he wants to slice up and murder. And there's this one lady who's really cute that he's been having dreams about. She doesn't die yet. Now, what happens is, Zanuff finds a lost child, like behind his shop. Just out there, starving. So he takes her in, gives her, like, some food. I think it was like hamburger steak. Hamburger helper steak. No, it's just regular hamburger steak. He's a butcher. He doesn't need hamburger helper. And he ends up taking care of this child because she doesn't want to go home. It's obvious that she's been abused. He sees some bruises on her, and he decides, you know what, I'm just not going to take her home. Okay, so that's child abduction, and that's bad, but narrative, like, just go with it. So, he also notes that he likes kids because they don't activate his psycho-stabby, must-chop-up-the-cute-person instincts, because I guess the implication is that they're related to sexuality and he's not a lolicon. That does bring up something I don't like about this one-shot. It kind of feels like lolibait sometimes. Like, the little girl isn't sexualized in a specific way, but if you are familiar with a specific type of anime tropes, the cuteness, wanting to get into the bath with you, drawing pictures, all of that, even though it is outside of context sexless, becomes the sexualized tropes of certain fans. Perverts. And this does seem to be leaning on that a little. Now maybe that's just the art style, which fluctuates between everyone being really round and cuddly and cartoony. Like, all the girls that you see look kind of like this girl. And then when the psycho killer stuff happens, it's really different. And that contrast is, of course, really important to the shock that it's going for. So, Zanuff is getting really uncomfortable with the fact that he's starting to have, like, chop-up meat dreams of the little girl who really is quite fond of him. And he genuinely likes her. Like, they've got a great, like, family dynamic going on. And then he actually finds her mother. And her mother is mad and is all ready to like accuse him of like every horrible thing under the sun. But Zanuff is like, oh, I'm very he does the bow. He's like, I'm very sorry. I was just looking after her. She didn't want to tell me where she lived. You may take her home. So the mom takes her off, and like the girl is terrified, and she should be, because like the moment they're out of sight, the mom is like, ah, how dare you, smack, I was so worried about you. And you know, it's abusive parent stuff, so much fun. And then Zanuff shows up and just clonks her on the back of the head and ties her up in his basement and proceeds to hack her legs off without anesthesia while she's awake. So this is kind of that, I don't want to call it a Saw thing. It's more like, no, not even a lot of slasher movies. You know what it is? It's the Eli Roth thing. The Eli Roth thing where the characters are horrible people so that when they get tortured, you don't feel so bad about it. You're supposed to enjoy it. I don't. Although I'm loving this. So Zanuff kills the mother. He doesn't do it in front of the kid, doesn't tell her about it necessarily, and then he immediately goes to the cops and was like, I have just killed a woman and kidnapped her daughter. He's lying about that part, but he's like, I'm turning myself in. I'm going to like really lean into it. I'm going to like, there's no version of this where people don't think I wasn't kidnapping and abusing the child, so I might as well just like admit to it now. And he gets sentenced to death row, which I said earlier I'm pretty sure Japan doesn't have. Maybe this is set in America. I don't... Is Zanuff name? No, everything about the... You know what? I'm thinking about this too hard. He's on death row. So while he's on death row, he's like... He decides to take up drawing, because that was the thing the little girl was really into, and he's like, you know what, I got a lot of time on my hands. I like how he's kind of at peace with his punishment. Like, he recognizes that the things he did were bad. He's like, you know what? Society's gonna just have to punish me, because, like, this can't be allowed. Kind of reminds me of Diablo from Suicide Squad. That was not a good movie. So, yeah, he takes up painting, and, like, 15 years later, the little girl is, like, going through now older, college age, I guess, or getting there, is going through a gallery, and like his artwork has gotten really good, and he's done a drawing of her in like a field of flowers or whatever, and she sees it and is like, it's a moment of revelation, oh my god, I remember the big fluffy old guy who took care of me and we did drawings. And then like, this is kind of the part that I don't like, where like the story just kind of skips over her, I assume, entrance into the foster care adoption system. I don't know what she's been doing for those 15 years. I guess she's fine now, though. So she actually goes to the prison, and they let him visit her, and they like talk on the other side of the glass, and it's like, oh, it's been so long, I really appreciate everything you did for me. My life has turned out, you know, it was rough, but I'm good. And he's like so thankful that he did something good. It's also the day he's supposed to be executed, so they're not really going to get a lot of time together. There was this manga, I can't remember, for the life of me, I can't find it again. And that pisses me off. It was about this girl who's like an obscenely good sniper and used as an assassin. Like, she shoots around corners and curves bullets and stuff. And like, at the end of the manga, the guy she was like had a crush on, she goes to jail for like 80 years, but the guy still like visits her, and like her being in prison and getting to visit her is like the happy ending of that manga. And this kind of reminds me of that. It's like, oh, I'm in jail and punished, but that's okay. That's good. Now, the prison industrial system as we have it now means that that's a little hopeful, but theoretically, a person who is serving time doesn't have to have that be the end-all be-all of their life. I don't know. I like it. It's like a twist where, oh, you receiving punishment is good and you're at peace with it. I don't know. It's nice and I like it. I like this manga. Yeah, it's a little lowly baity at times, and the psycho killer stuff is of course tasteless, but what are you gonna do? But yeah, the characters work. The story beats are like really unusual, like starting with him killing someone and going to jail and getting out. Like that, just the rhythms and beats of it are really different. And the artwork is good. Like apart from like the lowly bait, like the big like fluffy cartoony drawings are good, and the creepy faces are really creepy. So I know I've just spoiled the whole thing, but it's one chapter. I haven't shown any pictures because I'm lazy and I'm not doing that for these. But go read Zanuff the Butcher. It's a quick one and it's good. It's a good horror snack from the butcher shop.